Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast. My name is Joseph Sangle. We are fired up to help you start off your week, to help you make progress towards your fully funded life. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that is awesome, and my co-host, Megan Hibbert, is here to tell you what we're going to talk about.
Yes. So today we are talking about how to make money while you sleep. So our question is, I attended one of your live events recently and heard you speak about Oxen and making money without working for it. I found it very interesting and wanted to learn more about this. Can you talk about it in a future podcast episode? Yes. What just happened?
Oh, wait. I went to sleep. I was making money while I slept. Did you like that? I didn't tell her that I was going to do that. That's hilarious.
I was like,
pretending to be asleep. She's like, what just happened? I love it. What episode are we on, by the way?
We're on 139.
Yeah, it's the 1st of March. That's awesome. It is my birthday month. I have to wait all the way.
My birthday month. Tomorrow is my birthday.
Tomorrow is your birthday. Can you believe it? That is awesome. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Megan, for your 29th birthday again?
Yeah.
Is that awesome?
Again.
Yes.
Why do you guys
That's
have to say again?
I don't know, but that's awesome. I am fired up, and happy birthday to Megan. Everybody should comment right now on YouTube and Facebook. Tell Megan happy birthday.
Thank you.
But we're going to talk about Oxen. It's going to be awesome. And we are going to talk about it in a future podcast, as in this one. And we're going to talk about making money while you listen to this podcast while you sleep. This is going to be awesome. But first, before we talk about that, you know what time it is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
The Monday Money Tip Podcast is sponsored by the Fully Funded Life Membership Program. The Fully Funded Life Membership Program provides all you need to begin winning with money and live a fully funded life. Fully Funded Life includes 4 key components: courses, challenges, coaching, and community. Courses provide financial education. Challenges help you make massive progress in a specific money skill. Coaching is provided by the Fully Funded Life Certified Coaches through open office hours held multiple times each month. All of the courses, challenges, and coaching results in an outstanding community that help equip, motivate, and encourage you to take your next financial steps toward your fully funded life. Fully Funded Life. Courses, challenges, coaching, community. All that's missing is you. Learn more and receive a special offer for Monday Money Tip listeners today at fullyfunded.life/MMT. That's www.fullyfunded.life/MMT.
We're so excited to talk today about the current money events section. I'm going to talk about vision for your children. You know, it's interesting. We all have a vision for our child, and sometimes that makes us as children, do you see how I did that? We are a child at one point in time, and our parents have a vision for us, and we know how that can be annoying at times, but also great. And I wanted to talk to you about having a vision for your children in a way that's good. And so I'm sure that you and Jordan kind of have a vision for your son, right?
Yes.
And the vision probably does not include jail.
No.
Not exactly.
No.
Right? So we know some people are like, I don't really know what they're going to be, but we can do by process of elimination. Vision is both what we want for our children and also what we do not want for our children.
Yeah.
And so today I'm just really want to talk to each of our listeners and say, do you have a vision for each of your children? You know, I have a grown daughter now. She's 21. How did that happen?
She's off buying houses and stuff.
Before she was 21, she was 20. Before that, she was 19. It's amazing how this goes in a linear fashion. They don't skip years. Sometimes it seems like they did. Sometimes you wish they did.
Yeah.
But you know what? We need to have vision for our children, and it's different based on the age they are. So my vision for my 21-year-old is different, and it's more complex, and it's more of an open conversation with her than it is with my son, who is like 11. And, you know, he's running 10 years behind her. And then I got another one who she's still in single digits. And so I just asked this question of each of our listeners. Do you have a vision for each of your children? And have you had conversations with your children about it? So Logan, he is 2, approaching 2.
Approaching 2.
He's approaching 2. He's very close to 2.
Very close. Wow.
So have you had a detailed conversation about, you know, all he's going to accomplish with his life yet?
Yes. No.
Yes.
I think it's a great question. I think something definitely to consider. I feel like I would love, like Malia has a scholarship for school. Like she's not like an athlete and has a scholarship, and that paid for a lot of her college. And so I just see Logan. He is like super athletic at everything. The boy loves to always move and always do stuff and always on the go. And I feel like that could be something in his future, whether it's, baseball or basketball, or I'm kind of like maybe not football, but if he really wants to.
Football's got to happen.
But something like
But I
that.
understand.
But then he's also like ridiculously smart. And I feel like he's the smartest kid ever, maybe
course.
because he's my kid. But
100%.
I feel like he's 100%, like way advanced. So maybe he'd also get like a scholarship for being extra smart.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So-
And, it's kind of like the Lake Wobegon folks. My parents would listen to A Prairie Home Companion with Garrison Keillor, where all the children are above average.
You're
right?
speaking like a
all the
foreign
people
language
are
to
good
me right
looking,
now.
and all their children are above average, I think is what they said. But the bottom line is you're saying that he's above average, at least above average.
100%.
Okay, so here's what I know. I'm just sharing this because, on this day, my daughter is buying her first house. She's 21.
Crazy.
And that's kind of crazy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And so that's been part of the vision that I've had for her, that as she got these scholarships, that what happens for your child as they grow up and as you see certain talents express themselves is, I think we all as a parents want to just see one thing and one thing only. And that is that they do their best with the talents and abilities God has given them. And I think to expect them to accomplish more than that is unfair. To help them accomplish less than that is definitely unfair to them. Mm-hmm. And so I always tell my children, I don't care what your grades are. I just want you to be able to look at me in the eyes constantly and say, confidently and say, I know I did my best.
Yeah.
I tried my hardest. The same thing on the sport field, the same thing in Boy Scouts, same thing in Girl Scouts, same thing in whatever they join up to.
Yeah.
You're not jumping out of it. You're going to follow it to completion. If you sign up for gymnastics and you hate it, well, then you're going to finish to the end of the semester because we're going to commit to something and do something.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage each person listening, think about what the vision is you have for your children. Are you intentional with it? Are you intentionally developing it? My son is in Boy Scouts and he likes it. And not every kid likes Boy Scouts. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of kids come try it out and it's just not for them, or, it certainly is lesser on the priority list compared to their sports or whatever. My son loves basketball. He loves Boy Scouts. And so because I've seen this love for it and he's got some best buddies that are coming through it as well, I've chosen to rearrange my schedule that every Tuesday night I am at the Boy Scouts, and I am now, you may need to control yourself, and everybody listening, you may have envy, but I am now an assistant Scoutmaster.
An assistant?
Or assistant to the Scoutmaster. I'm not sure which.
How do you become the Scoutmaster?
Well, basically, you in our case, you breathed into a mirror and said you were willing to help, and you passed a background check, and you are suddenly at least an assistant to the Scoutmaster, if not an assistant Scoutmaster. And you have to take some tests and all that stuff too, but somehow I passed those. But I've done that, and I've committed my Tuesday nights, and I've committed to go to at least half of their campouts, which are every single month, and I'm just completing a camp out on a Friday and Saturday night on the two coldest nights of the year in a tent.
No, thank you.
And so, part of one of the merit badges, I'm sure, is a frostbite merit badge, and I'm going to get that one.
Yeah. I'll let Jordan and Logan do that.
But I've committed to that as a parent because number one, he wanted me to be a part of it. He enjoys doing that stuff with me, but also with his buddies. And so it's something we can enjoy together. And that's part of that vision for him. And so I have that for my little daughter, for my grown daughter. And so I just encourage everybody listening, as part of this Current Money events, it is current to me because my daughter's achieving a big moment today, buying her first house, that you should have a vision for your children. And that it should not be the same, and you shouldn't impress it on them and make them and force them to do things. But definitely, you should look at their skill sets, be able to see that, and help guide and direct that. And you do that best if you're intentional with it. And it affects your money, right? So I want to make sure that you think about that and are intentional with it. And that's it for today's Current Money Events section.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely good to keep in mind the financial aspect of it. So I'm sure with Boy Scouts comes financial obligations of paying for, a tent and sleeping bag and all that kind of stuff of the camp out aspect of it and the campsite. And
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Delivered the Mummy 0 degree Fahrenheit
Yes.
sleeping bag one day before the camping trip.
Yep.
Which is awesome. And a tent pad that separates you from the ground
Yeah.
so that you stay warmer. And several other things I did not know I needed, but suddenly looking at the forecast of 20 degrees at night
gonna need.
felt like
Yep.
we're needs, not wants.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't want to be able to, I mean, sometimes we have to tell our kids, no, it happens.
Yeah.
But to be able to, fulfill this for him of this is something he really, really loves. And the financial aspect isn't an issue because you guys have saved for it and it's in your budget and you're working,
Yeah.
I think that's great. So
It's awesome.
remember, when you're thinking through vision, think through the financial aspects of it as well.
And Boy Scout stuff applies to money, right? Be prepared, right? Do a good turn daily. It's awesome. All right. So with that, we're moving on to the success story that we love to share. So share everybody what the success story is for this episode.
Yes. Our success story this week comes from Bonnie, and she writes, I have been budgeting and budgeting and budgeting.
That's awesome. 3 times.
It took me a while to get my husband on board, but a friend of his at work told him that he needed to do this, and it worked. So my husband jumped on board. Hey, whatever it takes. I followed everything you told us in church, and we are to the point where the money is starting to roll over and pay off bills very fast.
Yes.
So they're doing the debt snowball. It's awesome. So we're on schedule to pay off our debts, including our home, in 62 months.
Woo!
Including
in
their
5
home?
years and 2 months.
Wow, that's crazy. So all of our credit cards have been put away and not used in well over a year and a half. I thank God for you and your seminar that you gave to us at our church and appreciate everything you taught us. And when we accomplish our mission in 62 months, I will contact you again.
Woo! Bonnie. There's so many things that are great about this. And number one, we cheer you on, Bonnie, and Bonnie's husband, who is unnamed. But here's what I know. A seed was planted, right?
Yeah.
So Bonnie's been budgeting. She's trying to get the husband. She's played all the buttons, all aboard, all the stuff. It's time to get on board. He didn't want to do it because his wife was saying, do this. But then a friend at work, so he was probably complaining to his friend at work. I'm just
Probably.
telling you, this
Yeah,
probably
it
happened.
happens.
And he shouldn't have done it, but he did. And his friend said, you know what? Budgets work. You should do that. And suddenly,
Ding, 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 ding.
yes, not the love of his life, not the person who's committed to spend all of her days with him, right, to share a life with him, but the friend at work got him finally to jump aboard. Isn't that frustrating as a spouse? I know I've been there. I've done that, whatever. But anyhow, he did it.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, Bonnie is fired up for the friend, and they followed everything that they said in church. Now they're doing the debt snowball. 62 months, the house is gone, which means they'll be done with rung 7. All the credit cards put away, not used in a year and a half. That just means they've had a plan. So even a plan for unexpected expenses means they have an emergency fund. And, we planted a seed and gave some tools and gifts. And in a 2-hour workshop, all that stuff came to fruition, and that was the pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And I really believe that is, the secret sauce, so to speak, of all of our live events is they don't just learn all this stuff. They don't learn I should do a budget for the first time at a financial learning experience.
Right.
But what we do is we connect something they know they've needed to do for years with really practical, free tools.
Yeah.
And we do it in a fun-loving manner. And as a result, you know what? Bonnie's husband got on board. Good job, Bonnie's husband. And now, 62 months from now, you're going to be high-fiving each other a lot because you don't have no debt, including the house.
That's wild.
Get fired up.
Yeah. That's crazy. Congratulations, Bonnie. All right. So for our question for today, it is, I attended one of your live events recently and heard you speak about Oxen and making money without working for it. I found it very interesting and wanted to learn more about this. Can you talk about this in a future podcast?
Well, yes, I can. And we're going to title this episode, Making Money While You Sleep. And that's really important.
You gonna fall
because
asleep
I
on us again?
love this question. And really, this Oxen talk that I gave that they referenced was birthed from me reading a verse in the Bible. It was a massive moment of revelation. That's a church word, really.
But it wasn't.
But it was a moment of vision for me.
Yeah.
It was a moment that clarity showed up, and it changed my life. That's all it did, though, is just change my life. And it was this verse, Proverbs 14:4, and we'll put it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. It says, where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox come abundant harvests. How awesome is that?
Yep.
And so when I see this verse, when I saw it, and I've shared it enough that Megan, you've heard this, way more than you want to probably, but the answer to this question.
Yep.
There are two outcomes in this verse. What are the two outcomes in this verse?
Yes. So the first one is empty manger.
Yep, that's right. So where there are no oxen, the manger is empty. That's an empty manger. What's the second outcome?
And the second one is abundant harvest.
That's right. But from the strength of an ox come abundant harvest. And what I think is the moment of vision for me was when I really asked myself the question. I don't know if you've ever done this thing. It's another Bible study word called homiletics. And homiletics means, you're familiar with that word? Is that a word you've heard a lot?
Well, both my parents did Bible study fellowship, which
There
I
we
know
go.
Jen does. So I've heard the word a whole lot.
So
through them.
homiletics
Yep.
means the breaking down of Scripture. It's really looking at a Scripture and basically asking questions. What is it saying for real? Does it have a deeper meaning? What is not being said but is inferred?
Yeah.
And really, when I broke apart the Scripture, I did the homiletics on it, I realized that it said, the writer is saying one thing makes the difference between having that empty manger or the abundant harvest. So what makes the difference?
Oxen.
Yeah, oxen make all the difference. We read the verse, where there are no oxen, there's an empty manger. From the strength of an ox come abundant harvest. And so oxen make all the difference. And so this principle will change your life. I am dead serious with the podcast listening audience right now. If you're watching on YouTube, if you get this, it will change your life forever. It will make the difference between you having a few thousand or a few 100,000 when you graduate into retirement to having millions and millions of dollars. For real. And it's not about just having millions and squillions of dollars so you can swim in it like Scrooge McDuck. It's about your fully funded life and being able to be generous at another level, being able to leave a legacy, being able to leave an inheritance for your children's children. And oxen make the difference. I'm dead serious. And really, as I looked at this, we could have some humor with this and talk about the fact that an empty manger is really a food trough. And Jesus was stuck in a food trough, but it didn't sound as good in the Christmas song. Away in a food trough. Just doesn't sound as good. But really, oxen make the difference between having that empty manger or an abundant harvest. And I think it's important to say this. An empty manger doesn't mean you don't have enough to eat. It just means you have nothing left over. And there's a lot of people that live that way. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, that is exactly what you have as an empty manger. Is you get paid, same as an ox getting fed, you consume it all, and then you stand around waiting to get fed again, to get paid again. And we're talking about making money while you sleep. And so let's explain that. There's really two ways to produce income.
Yep.
And so 2 ways to produce income. Way number 1 is what, Megan?
Yes. So way number 1 is work equals get paid money. Don't work equals don't get paid money.
Right. So this is also known as a job, a 3-letter job. And that's the truth. We learned this at a young age. My kids, when they were younger, my oldest daughter, she wanted extra money. Well, we had some pine trees down here in the South. We have these pine trees and they drop pine cones. And if she wanted money, I hated mowing them. So I would tell her, you want to make money, go pick up some pine cones, put them in a pail. I'll give you a penny a pine cone. Man, she could make herself $5 really fast. That's 500 pine cones. Plus they're fun to burn in the campfire. And I didn't have to mow them. That's working. She's learning early. If I expend effort, I can earn income. Work equals get paid money. Don't work equals don't get paid money. But here's the fact. We're all limited on how many hours we can work, right? You could choose to work half days, Megan. 12 hours a day. You ever work those type of half days?
Sometimes I know some listeners like
have worked those type of, I know you have. But you know what? You're limited on what you can produce, right? Even if you work 24 hours a day, you're limited on what you can produce.
Yeah.
Even if you're, a surgeon, you're still limited on what you can produce, albeit you can produce more than, all of us combined listening to the podcast at this moment, probably. But here's what I want you to know is that's way number 1. That's what most of us revert to and what many people stay stuck at. They believe that's the only way they can get income. But the second category, this is oxen. What is that?
Yes. So the way number 2 is get paid money whether or not you're working. Get
paid money whether or not you're working. In other words, the title of this podcast, get paid money while you are sleeping. And that's really important. Get paid money whether or not you're working, and that is oxen. See, many people don't learn or deploy method number 2 ever. But I would say that some of us do have oxen and don't even know it. Like some of us actually have it. And so I want to talk about this as oxen. Oxen in this term, the farmer uses the ox to plow the fields, to plant, to harvest it, right? And without the ox, the farmer can have a nice garden. They can kind of hoe up a small garden. The ox allows them to multiply exponentially how much they can produce. And in the same way, even though most of us don't live on farms now, to make it an analogy relevant to all of us, is a financial ox is anything that does what an ox does for the farmer. It's something that helps carry the load for you. It tills up the ground. It produces a harvest for you. It allows you to exponentially increase your efforts. And watch this, you still have to guide it, right? Like the ox left to himself, he's not going to get in the ox. The farmer's going to put him, he won't get in the yoke.
Yeah.
The farmer has to put him in the yoke. And then he has to guide it. But it is the ox doing the work for you. And so I'm going to list off 5 types of oxen. There's a lot of these. And we'll tell you how you get access to more training on this if it's interesting to you. But we're going to rattle off 5 common ones today. Sound good? So list off number 1. What's the first
All right.
type?
The first one is mutual funds and ETFs.
That's right. And so I was saying many of you have oxen and didn't even know it. If you have a retirement account at work, a 401k, 457, 403b, simple IRA, or Roth IRA, you probably have mutual funds and ETFs. And of course, these can be held inside your retirement account. They can also be held within your own investment account. And as the market goes up and profits are distributed as dividends, the value of your investment goes up. As the market goes down and profits are not distributed, well, the value of your investment goes down. But I want to just kind of dive into this one example here, and then we'll rattle off the other 4. But really, when you own mutual funds, you own shares of ownership or debts of large companies. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Are there employees working at the large companies? Yes. How are those employees earning the money? Type 1 or type 2? Type 1.
Yeah.
They're working. They're using their time, talent, energy, and intellect for a paycheck. But they are there. I think you'll know the answer to this question, Megan. Are they there, A, to help the company make money, or B, lose money?
Make money.
Make money. That's right. If not, they will be freed up to pursue other opportunities,
Probably.
right?
AKA
They will no
fired.
longer have type 1 income. So they produce profit. Who gets to keep the profit?
Company.
The company,
But
and
I
then
guess
they distribute it to the
them.
shareholders,
Yeah.
which are the mutual fund, which are mutual fund owners. And therefore, that is how it is. So that is type 2 income. You don't work for that income.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? The employees in the companies, they work really hard to deliver profit, innovative products, services, to produce profit. And then if you have part ownership through these mutual funds, you get to keep part of the profit. You didn't work for any of it. You got it while you slept. Okay, There we go. Did you like that? I fell asleep. I have narcolepsy in the midst of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so type number 2 oxen is what?
Well, I will also say before we go on, with mutual funds, we did a whole episode on what is a mutual fund. So if you're like, I think I have that, I don't really know what that is, or can you explain that more in depth?
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on it. I'll link it in the show notes so that you guys can listen to it. Super helpful. And it breaks it down in like a basic way where you can easily understand it, which I love. Okay, so number 2 is Social Security.
Yes, and Social Security is an ox. And most countries have it, right? It's some sort of safety net. And most people pay into it when they're earning type 1 income. And so Social Security, I really encourage you to obtain your Social Security statement at least once per year. You can find that at www.ssa.gov. That's www.ssa.gov in the United States. And that's for the Social Security Administration. And download the Social Security statement because it is an ox that will work for you. And there are different types of ox. Some are less stable. They're kind of jumping up and down. I would think stock market, mutual funds, ETFs. But Social Security, more steady state. He's a calm ox. You can kind of point him to the end of the field, and he's going to drag it all the way to the end of the field, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's a second type of ox. What's a third type?
All right, the third is small businesses.
Now this right here can be an adventuresome ox. Might be a wild ride, but it can generate dollars with several zeros behind them, like zeros to the left of the decimal point. Now, this can start with being a small home-based business, or it can be a full-fledged business operation. But a small business can be a tremendous ox. And we can dive more into that, and we'll tell you more about that here at the end. What's a fourth type of ox?
Okay, number 4 is real estate.
Yes.
You like number 4.
Yeah, I like number 4. I like real estate. Now, this could be a commercial property. Like we're sitting in the worldwide headquarters of Fully Funded, and I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, and all of our other businesses right here in Anderson, South Carolina. It's commercial property, isn't it? Now, Megan, do you think this is the type of ox you and Jordan want to own someday?
I don't think so.
Not really?
We're more in the next part of the conversation.
Okay. So it could be a residential property.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what about that type of ox?
Yes, we have talked in depth about that.
So it's more enticing.
Yes.
So I wanted to just share that, just that conversation between me and you, so our podcast listeners can hear this, because Megan could confidently say, I don't think that one, I think that one. And when it comes to real estate and this type of ox, I've found that every single person kind of has a, you know what, no way, that's interesting, that's really interesting. And so I encourage you to think about it. You know, it could be my favorite type. You know, we talk about commercial property and residential property. My favorite is land. Land with no dwellings, except for animals dwelling on it. And also 4-wheeler tracks and dirt bike tracks and mushrooms growing on it. It's awesome.
Things.
And creeks and all that. It's so great. I love it. It's outdoors. And they're not making much more of it. And my one thing that I say is that big island in Hawaii made about 770 new acres, which a square mile is 640 acres. But it's a really hot real estate market there right now. And it's a bad joke. I know it's a bad joke, but I had to use it. All right, tell everybody what the 5th type of ox is.
All right, the 5th one is precious metals.
Yes, precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, of course, are the top 3. And so, you know, gold has went kind of crazy over the last couple of years. You know, I got a wedding band on here, and I've been married now for 23, almost 24 years. And when I bought this thing's almost pure gold. It was $300 an ounce, gold was. As we're sitting here right now recording this podcast, it's $1,808 an ounce.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a 6x gain. Not bad. All right, over the course of 23 years. Silver has done fantastically. It's doubled in value over the last year. Kind of crazy, from around $14.50 an ounce. It's went up to as high as $30 an ounce, which is amazing. Around $27.50 an ounce as we speak. But here's what I want you to know. There are many other types of oxen. And if you're listening to this episode and want to learn a lot more about this topic, I would point you to our sponsor, which is the Fully Funded Life membership. We have courses, challenges, and coaching, all in the blessing of community to help you identify the oxen that are right for you. And ultimately, we want to help you acquire oxen so that you can experience an abundant harvest and live your fully funded life. There's a lot more there. Check it out. fullyfunded.life/MMT if you want to get a special offer. Now, tell everybody, again, we talked about the verse. I want to use it as our verse of the day.
Yes. Okay, so our verse for today is Proverbs 14:4. It says, where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox comes abundant harvest.
Yes. And so, you know, I have to finish before we talk about what's coming up, is I want to use my jokes. Can I use my jokes?
If you
When
must.
you think about oxen and you think about financial oxen, you need to know that you will have a very moving experience. And as we teach you about oxen, we're just trying to steer you in the right direction. And that's no bull. And also, you will find that it is utterly amazing. Can you tell I'm milking the moment? It's terrible. No, it's awful, isn't it? Anyhow, those are all my oxen jokes. I pay good U.S. currency for good cow jokes. If you will send one my way, I will pay you $1 for any good ones that I like. And so I encourage you to send those in and share them on social media. Get fired up.
I will tell you that he will steal them as his own joke, though.
Yes. Oh, no, but I'll pay $1 for the use of them. That's awesome. Not per use of them.
Just
Total.
one
for
time.
lifetime rights and privileges to it. Tell everybody what we're talking about in our next episode.
Okay, our next episode, we're talking about 5 swings of an axe. So it's talking about the power of persistency.
Yes.
So our question...
It's not 4 swings of an axe?
It's 5.
It's not 6 swings of an axe.
Yeah.
5 swings of an axe. Okay.
Yeah.
You got my curiosity up. I can't wait to
Yep.
hear you teach that in the next episode.
Yep. So we'll see what comes of it.
If you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast so other people will benefit. If you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button and that bell right there. That bell will notify you every time a new episode or money tip is released. Also, you can share it with your friends. The greatest honor you can give us is by clicking the share button on your social media feed, sharing it with all of your friends and family. We want to help people live fully funded lives. And if you've implemented one of our tips, share your success story with us. You can email it or share it on any of those social media outlets. You can send us a direct message, and who knows, your story might show up in an upcoming episode of the podcast. In the meantime, I encourage you to get out in the fields, get that yoke up, put it on an ox or two, and start tilling up the soil in anticipation of your fantastic, abundant harvest. Get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.